You just knew the dog was gonna die, didn't you? Evil Dead Burn, the, oh gosh, sixth film of the Evil Dead franchise. Now firstly, before I get into this review, I do want to point out a disclaimer. This may, I've seen the reviews and they're very mixed, but I've seen a lot of people saying that they're not as good as the originals, etc. I have not seen the first four films. I think it's the first four. I didn't know they even existed, so sorry if there's any massive Evil Dead fans here. I'm not very good with the lore. I'm not very good with comparing to other films, so my opinion may be a little bit different to people that have actually seen all of the films, and I will get to them. The only other film I've seen was the 2023 film Evil Dead Rise. That's how I got into the franchise, so bear that in mind. My opinion may well not be as valid because I've not seen all the films, but I will get into it. But what I can still say quite a lot about this film, overall I thought it was good. Okay / good. There were some parts where I was rolling my eyes a bit, and other parts I really enjoyed, and I feel like this franchise is pretty good at. I say that as someone who's not actually seen the first four, I'm just going off the last film, but still, and that is the gore. Okay, if you're a gore fan, and I don't mind a bit of gore, the gore was gory in this. I'd say it's much gorier than Evil Dead Rise. Can't say it's the most gory because I haven't seen all of them, but yeah, there were parts in this which were very well done actually, and especially the fighting scenes, the way that people being thrown around the room in the house was very well choreographed, because often, because a lot of it, and this is one of the negatives I'll get into in a bit, when you're throwing a lot of people around a room and you're fighting with demons, etc., it can start to look a little bit silly, or it can look very jumpy and cutty because you've sort of jumped from one bit to the next because you've had to get a stuntman in to do one bit, etc. So it can make it look a little bit clunky, I guess. But this felt smooth, and the fights felt, I guess, more real. Are they called Deadites? I believe they're called, the demons that we have. I don't think they're as scary as the main woman in Evil Dead Rise, the lady with the red hair, the mum. I'm sure you know who I mean. I feel like more happened to her, not only through story but also physical change, which made her look more menacing. The only character which looked very menacing, and I think that was just purely on the looks of the actual human being, because he just got that look, is Edgar, the dad of the family. He just has a very good villain look. He just looks good as a villain. This film has some very, very tense scenes. The most tense scene for me was at the dinner table. The dad is clearly enraged. We see that he is slowly turning into one of the demons, and there's a lot going on at the table. We have a few arguments going on. We've also got the dog annoying him, and I knew the dog was going to be killed, and I did not look at the actual bit where the dog was killed because I knew it was coming, and I refused to see dogs being killed. You can do anything else in a horror film, you just don't kill the dogs. That's where I draw the line. I just felt like the whole scene was very sort of chaotic, and of course you have the mum dealing with the grandmother. Obviously she has dementia, so that played into the sort of chaoticness of the whole entire scene. And I just thought it was done very, very well. The house and the location was bleak, and it suited everything very, very well. The beginning, I googled this. The beginning was meant to be like Evil Dead Rise in terms of like very similar. I would have personally liked to have seen a different, just different location used instead of a lake. But if it was intentional by the directors, I get it. I just would have liked to have seen it done, but that's just a preference. At the end of the day, it's nothing wrong. And the film, really, really good start to the film as well. The two men get killed in just when you feel like one's going to escape. He doesn't, and she makes the water hotter, so he burns to death. Yeah. When she sort of went over his hand and the flesh came off, that made my skin crawl. Now, I liked the story between Alice, the French girl, and she was French, wasn't she? And the sort of dealing with the trauma of being abused by her ex, Will, the guy who died, the guy that turned into, well, by the end of the film, he was a walking fire, skeleton, zombie, whatever you want to call it, demon. I do like how that story plays out, and sort of, I do feel like some of the characters in this film I can't even remember their names, you know, sort of the son and the son that stays alive and the other girl. There's not much character depth, but there's a lot of family depth. We sort of get that when they're having arguments about, you know, you're not the perfect family, have a lot of issues type of thing. I like that. I like the family drama, and the family as a whole are much more, they stand out a lot more than individual characters. By the way, that son, at several points in the film, was just standing there while the demon was attacking, pretty sure his mum or something, and he did nothing. Why? I know horror does it a lot, but that just annoys me. One thing that I guess, because I'm very aware the reviews of this are not as good maybe as I'm saying this film is, I will admit the house, the location was starting to get a bit boring. I guess the fighting started to become a little bit boring. It was like you'd knock one of the demons out with, I don't know, a chair, and then 2 minutes later they start the fight again. And that happened several times, and it was all within the same contained space, and it started to get a little bit samey for me. I'm not sure how it felt for other people, but yeah, that was boring me a little bit. Did it drag? I think because I like Alice not as much as I thought it would, I think maybe on a rewatch it might drag a little bit more, because we get a good sense of Alice and her character and what she's dealing with. I don't know if he fully needed the ending or as long as it was. And by the way, the ending, not the ending, but the ending where we see her eye change. Some people are saying that she's not turned into one. I mean, to me, it looks like she got infected. But also we saw the grandmother with no legs, and she was on the ground and she's infected someone brand new. So there we go. The films are going to continue. And I do believe there was another end credit scene, which I've not actually seen yet. So if someone can explain that to me. Yeah, overall, it was scary and intense. And, I do want to bring up one more thing. The humour side of it. Now, I spoke with a few of my friends about this, and they kind of brought it up, and it made me realise a lot more actually that I don't think it worked. And the main example I'm thinking of when it comes to sort of it was done for comedic effect, or it certainly came off that way, was when the grandmother had just finished fighting with Alice, I believe, and she'd locked her in her chair and started putting her downstairs, and she was very slowly coming out of eye view, going down the stairs. And I don't know, that felt a little bit funny to me. I'm not quite sure how everyone else felt about that. And I think it's absolutely fine, and actually I prefer sometimes when horror does have some comedy elements, not scary movie type of comedy elements, but some light-hearted parts. But during that scene it just felt off, and I don't think it worked, but other people may disagree. I thought it was, I don't think it's as good as Evil Dead Rise, but it's more gory and there's more going on in terms of the killing. So if you're into sort of how people get killed, etc., the action, I guess, I feel like there is more action. Or for me, I prefer the action in Evil Dead Burn, but I think I liked the characters more and the overall story in Evil Dead Rise, and it's probably a little bit more scary as well. And as I said, Evil Dead Rise had the whole apartment. We see the lift, we see the hallway, we see the flat being used, while we just got a house being used, and it's mainly the sort of hallway and the living room and the kitchen, etc. Evil Dead Burn, what would I give it out of 10? It's getting a 6.5. I thought it was good, but I'll be interested to see what I will say on a rewatch of this film. Please let me know what you think about Evil Dead Burn. And Evil Dead Wrath is coming in April 2028. It's a prequel, I believe. A prequel either to every film beforehand or a prequel to the second or third film, I can't quite remember. But that means I need to watch the first few films, so I'll get onto that before 2028. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to subscribe and give this video a like, that would help me out massively. We do horror and zombie content, reviews, news, all that type of stuff. So I'll see you all very, very soon.